Are you a mother, father, or you are involved in caring for children? If yes, then listen to Ask the Pediatricians every Thursday by 10 a.m. for insightful discussion on popular child health topics such as dangerous child health practices, immunization, infant feeding, developmental milestones, and so much more. You also get to ask questions on these topics and listen to answers to real-life child health issues by a pediatrician. Ask the Pediatricians Foundation is devoted to health education and information of parents and caregivers of children in the community to support you in raising healthy children. Don't miss Ask the Pediatricians with Dr. Bami because it's informative, educative, and interactive. Ask the Pediatricians Hour, the program for caring parents.
Hello,
Are you a mother?
everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hacks the Pediatrician Hour. I am Bimi Salaboide, and I'm your anchor for today's broadcast. I want to especially thank you so much for tuning in or for joining us on whichever platform you're watching from. I want to especially welcome those of you who are listening on Fresh Waves Radio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, or afternoon, or evening, or whatever time you are listening. And for those who are listening on the podcast as well, you're welcome. And for those who are watching me on the Facebook pages or groups of Ask the Pediatricians and Fresh Waves Radio, I want to especially welcome you to a fresh episode of Ask the Pediatrician Hour. I also want to thank those of you who are watching us on our YouTube channel. Ask the Pediatrician Hour is brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation, which is an organization that is committed to the health and welfare of children globally, especially those in sub-Saharan Africa, where majority of children die from preventable causes. And our mission and our vision is to see the number of children dying from preventable causes reduced to zero. And we do that through our health education and information platforms. And this program is actually one of those programs where we educate parents about the health of their children. So thank you so much for joining us. And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, a very common topic. Parents ask several questions, and this has to do with the weight of children. So people are always worried, parents are always worried, is my baby's weight appropriate for the child's age? And so today I'm going to be teaching you what I call do it yourself strategies. So how you can know by yourself without really looking for a pediatrician whether your child's weight is age appropriate or not. However, remember that if you have any questions about the health of your children, you can always post your question on our Ask the Pediatricians Facebook group. You can miss our group on Facebook. It's one of the largest parenting group on Facebook. And you also look for Ask the Pediatricians. We have over 700,000 members, so you can definitely know you're in the right place. Once you join, you can always post your questions there from Mondays to Saturdays. Our health professionals and our moderators, they'll be there to answer most of your frequently asked questions. And we actually have the ATP family for the adults as well. So you can also search for that. But Ask the Pediatrician is the one for children health issues. And if you also want to read about common topics that have to do with the health of your children, you can check out our website on www.askthepediatricians.com, and you can read most of this kind of topics that we've written about on our website. And for those of you who are first-time mom, we actually have lots of products for first-time mothers. We have the what we call the FCM Companion, and we also have a digital products about frequently asked questions for first-time mothers. These products are specially designed to help you navigate motherhood for the very first time easily to become and to be a confident mother. So if you want to get any of these products, you can just send us a message on our WhatsApp number or in any of our pages, and we'll be able to direct you appropriately. All right. So again, this question of weight of the child is the most frequently asked questions that parents always direct to the pediatricians. And it's so important for us to know. And because when we talk about health of children, one of the indicators by which we know that a child is healthy or a child is able to fight infections and able to defend themselves against diseases is through having a good weight for their age. All right, so a child who has a good weight, they are able to do certain things on their own. And usually when children's weights are falling, it's always a source of concern for pediatricians because we know that low weight for age, or what we sometimes refer to as malnutrition, is a recipe for disaster. In fact, most of the time when we talk about children dying in sub-Saharan Africa, 50% of those deaths, the underlying factor is malnutrition. So it's so important for us to know. And the way we know whether a child is malnourished or not is through some of these indices, including the weight of the child. So today we're going to talk about weight. What is my child's ideal weight? So we know we'll talk about normal. Then we need to know, how do we know whether the weight is okay or not? How often should we check the weight of our children? And if the weight is not normal, what does that mean? Okay, when should we get in touch with the pediatrician? What will the pediatrician do? So those are the things we are going to talk about today. So let's start from the newborn baby. Okay, so when babies are born, the average baby's weight is between 2.5 to 4.0 kilograms. That is the average weight, or what we call the normal birth weight of a baby. And I'm sure some of you are saying, oh, but my baby was born smaller than that, or my baby was born bigger than that. Yes. So a baby can be small for their age, or they can be born too early, what we call prematurity. And when they are born too early and they're preterm baby, then their weight definitely may be smaller than what is normal weight. Or a baby could be very big, so what we call large for age babies, or macrosomic babies. So these babies that weigh beyond 4 kilograms. So those are the large for weight. But most babies will be born between 2.5 and 4 kilograms, and that is normal birth weight. So if your baby was born premature, of course, depending on how premature the baby was born, how early the baby came out, the baby's weight will also be smaller. However, there are also instances where babies are born at term. When we say term, we're talking about between 37 weeks of pregnancy to 42 weeks of pregnancy. So any baby born earlier than 37 weeks completed weeks of pregnancy, we say they are born preterm. So we call them preterm babies, or people tend to refer to them as premature baby, but the ideal term is preterm babies. And for babies that are born after 42 weeks, we call them post-term babies. For babies that are born after 40 weeks, we call them post-dated babies, because date is actually 40 weeks. That is when we expect that you should have your baby. That is the EDD date that the doctors usually calculate. They usually calculate it to be 40 weeks. So babies born after 40 weeks are post-dated, or babies born after 42 weeks are post-term, and babies born before 37 completed weeks are called preterm babies. Now, if your baby was born term between 37 and 42 weeks, and yet the baby's weight is lower than 2.5 kilos, we will say that baby is small for age. SGA babies. And there are many reasons why babies could be small for age. It could be the fact that they were problems during the pregnancy. Mom has hypertension or diabetes, or mom was sick, or the baby was sick in the inside of mom, or the baby has some conditions, genetic conditions, different things can happen. But there are lots of things that can happen that could make the baby to be born small. And this baby are at risk of other issues, okay, which we will not go into today. Maybe another day we'll come back and talk about preterm babies and small for gestational age babies and the various challenges that those babies will face. Okay, but I just want us to stick to the topic of ideal weight today. And we are talking about the normal weight is 2.5 to 4 kilograms. Some babies could be born smaller, and in other words, they are born at term and they're smaller. We call them small for gestational age babies. Or some babies could be born preterm, and by virtue of the fact that they were born preterm, they will be small. And some people can be born preterm small and also even still be small for what you expect for that age of pregnancy. So you could be preterm and still be SGA at the same time. And some babies could be very big. So we have babies that are 4.5, 5 kilograms, and those are what we call large for age babies. Now, it's so important to start with this explanation, because you wonder, what does this have to do with my baby's ideal weight as my baby is getting bigger? Because what baby starts with is important. So a lot of mothers are always worried about the weight of their babies, and when you ask further questions, you find out that that baby was actually born very small. So if your baby started at 1 kilogram, you're not going to expect that baby weight to be the same as another 8-month-old baby that started at 2.5 or 3 kilograms. So that's why we always want to know, when did this baby start? Was this baby born preterm, or was this baby born at term? And what was the birth weight? Because what the baby starts with will affect what the baby's weight is going to be at each point in time. So let me just quickly say that for the preterm babies, when we're looking at their weights as they get older, we always have to correct for the fact that they were born preterm. So in other words, 2 babies that are born on January 1st, one was born at let's say 28 weeks and was weighing 1 kilogram, and one was born at 38 weeks and was weighing 2.5 kilogram. So that was in January. So this is September. If I'm going to look at the weights of those babies, I'm not going to use the same parameter to judge the 2 babies. So for the baby that was born at 38 weeks, weighing 2.5 kilos, at 9 months, I'm going to expect that baby to be weighing close to 9 kilograms. But I'm not going to expect 9 kilograms for the other baby that was born at 28 weeks and was weighing 1 kilogram at birth. This would not be fair to do that. So for that 28-weeker preterm baby, I'm going to deduct all the extra weeks that the baby was born too early. So the baby was born 12 weeks earlier, because normal date is 40 weeks. So the baby was born at 20 weeks. So the baby was born 12 weeks earlier, which is 3 months earlier. So for all intents and purposes, that baby's corrected age is 6 months. So both babies were born in January. And so in September, both babies are 9 months old chronological age. But for the preterm baby that was born 12 weeks earlier at 28 weeks, that baby has another age, what we call the corrected age. And so the corrected age for that 28-weeker in September will be 6 months, even though the baby was born in January and chronologically the baby is 9 months. Now, why is that important? So when I want to look at the weights of that baby and I want to determine whether that weight is fine, is normal or not, I'm going to use that baby's corrected age and not the chronological age. So the corrected age for that baby is 6 months. So I'm going to be looking for what is the expected weight for a 6-month-old, and which is usually around 7.5 thereabouts. So that is what I'm going to use for that baby, and not the 9 kilograms that I'm going to use to expect for the baby that was born at 38 weeks and that was weighing 2.5 or 3 kilograms. So that is just to quickly say that. So for those of you that were born too early, don't panic when we're talking about this is what is expected at this age. What is important for you is to know that when you want to look at what is expected, you must calculate your baby's corrected age, because it's that corrected age that we're going to use and not the chronological age. And the same principle applies when you're looking at their development. So, for example, a 9-month-old baby born at term, we expect the child to start crawling, okay, and to be able to sit straight and crawling. But for your preterm baby, even though at 9 months chronological age, but the corrected age is 6 months, all we will be expecting for that baby is to be able to sit with some support. So this is very important for us to understand. So after talking about the normal weight that we expect for average baby born at normal time, we now talk about how do they gain weight. So the rates of gaining weight for the term babies is different from the preterm babies. So averagely, again, I'm using the word averagely a lot because everything is not cast in stone. It's not like it must be exactly what I'm talking about. It's average. So what is mean that is what 50% of children would do. But some babies will be a little bit smaller. Some babies will be a little bit bigger. So we need to always bear that in mind. Remember that weight and height, when you plot them on a graph, if all of us, even as adults, if you measure all our weights and our heights, they will be different by maybe 0.1. It will be like what we call a Gaussian curve. It will not be like this is all of us will be on the same height, all of us will be on the same weight. So it's not going to be like that. So it's going to be gradual difference, but majority of us will be towards the middle, which is the what we call the 50 percentile, or what we call the average. So when we say the average, we usually are talking about that middle where majority of people are, but a few people will be a little bit towards the outlier, and they are still normal. There's still nothing wrong with them, but they are just towards the other two ends, either the lower end of, or what we call the lower limits of normal, or the upper end of normal. So, but when pediatricians talk and we say, okay, this is what we expect for 8 months, this is what we expect for 9 months, this is what we expect for 1 year, we're talking average. So you don't need to start panicking if your baby is a little bit off the average, either to the right or to the left. So the important thing is to always bear in mind. But at the same time, we now have what we call the cutoff. Like once you are now away from this cutoff on either side, then we know there is a problem. And I'm going to be telling us what the cutoff are. So now let's start. So average weight gain. So a term baby, usually they gain about 30 grams a day. So they usually gain, if you're feeding them well, they are healthy, they're on exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months and all that, they should gain averagely 30 grams a day. And for the preterm babies, they gain averagely 20 grams a day. And of course, most of us are not going to be weighing our baby every day and we're looking for 20 grams or 30 grams. So most of the time we weigh our babies every month, unless the pediatrician were worried about the baby's weight. For example, the preterm babies, because sometimes they have a lot of difficulties in the first few months of life. So sometimes we weigh them every week. Most time, if they're in the hospital, we actually weigh them every day. But when they are home, we weigh them weekly and all that. But for babies who are home, we don't expect to weigh them every day. And I know some of you have scale at home and you always want to go and weigh your baby every day. It's not necessary. So just weigh them once a month should be fine. So that means averagely a term baby should be gaining 900 grams a month or close to 1 kilo, and a preterm baby should be gaining 600 grams a month. So that is how you can see whether your baby's weight is average. Remember the word averagely. So sometimes some babies will gain maybe more than 1.5 kilograms. It's still okay. Some babies will not gain up to 900 grams, maybe a little bit 700, 500 grams. It's still not too bad. Is most important thing is the key word is average. And I think for us as pediatricians, the most important thing is that your baby is not static. In other words, if we weigh your baby today and we weigh the baby again in another 1 month, we don't want the weight to be the same. That is a red flag, for us. If we weigh the baby's weight is the same, is we get what we call amber signal, something is wrong, the baby has not gained weight. Or worse, what scenario the baby's weight actually dropped, then we are really, really alarmed. In other words, the baby today, the baby is weighing 4 kilograms. We weigh the baby in October, the baby is now weighing still 4 kilograms. That is amber flashing. Then if we weigh the baby again and baby is now even 3 kilograms instead of weighing, going higher than 4, then that is red alert. So we are worried about the baby. So that is the average weight gain: 30 grams a day, 900 grams a month for the term babies. So you can use that to see whether your baby's weight is okay. But there are other ways by which you can measure or check whether your baby's weight is okay or not. So let's talk about them. Number one, there are what we call formulas to calculate. Okay, so these are the pediatrician secrets. So we have a formula for calculating what is the expected weight of your baby. So we have different kind of formulas, but usually parents are not going. I know most of you, you're not into mathematics and all that, so I'm not going to tell you that formula because I don't think you need to worry about that, because that is not really for parents. But there are also like some key ages and the key figures that go with that. So I can usually tell you that one easily because those ones are easy to remember. So usually, for example, at 1 year, the most average child should weigh 10 kilograms. So, and when we're talking about now, I'm talking about 10 babies, normal weight babies, every other thing being equal. I'm not talking about preterm babies. I'm not talking about babies that were sick. I'm not talking about babies that have health issues. So when I'm going forward talking, I'm just going to talk about the term babies. I already told you what to do for preterm babies. Just correct their age, and then you can use the same figures that are used for term babies if you are using the corrected age. Okay, so at 1 year, most babies, average baby will weigh 10 kilograms. 1 year, 10 kilograms. 2 years, 12 kilograms. So they had 2 kilos. So 1 year, 10 kilograms. 2 years, 12 kilograms. 3 years, 14 kilograms. 4 years, 16 kilograms, 5 years, 18 kilograms, and 6 years, 20 kilograms. So that is a very easy way for parents to remember. So 1 year, 10, 2 years, 12, 3 years, 14, 4 years, 16, 5 years, 18, 6 years, 20 kilograms. So that is a very easy one, and you can always figure out everything in between. So at least you know the key one. Okay, now another key one that you can use between 0 to 1 is the double and the triple. So babies usually double their weight, their birth weight, by 5 to 6 months. Okay, or let's just say 6 months so that you will not have to remember too many figures. So they should double their birth weight at 6 months. They should triple it at 1 year, and they should quadruple it at 2 years. Okay, so that's another easy one to remember. So at 0, double at 6 months, triple at 1 year, quadruple at 2 years. Now let me give you a typical example of a 3-year a child that weighs 3 kilos at birth. So if child weighs 3 kilos at birth, by 6 months the child should weigh double 6 kilogram. Okay, you should double 6 kilogram. Of course, 1 year they should be weighing 9 kilograms or 10 kilograms, depending, but they should triple the weight that they should have at birth, double, triple as 1 year. And that at 2 years, they should quadruple. So that child should be weighing 12 kilos at 2 years. So that is another easy way to remember. So again, remember the keyword is average weight gain. So you can use a double, triple, quadruple. You can use a 1, 10, 2, 12, 3, 14, 4, 16, 5, 18, 6, 20 kilos. So that's another way to check your weight. But some of you are like, oh, I don't like all these formulas. I don't have time to remember formulas and all that. Again, but the first two methods I shared with you, just a quick way. You are just thinking, They just weigh your baby, you don't have anything with you, you just want to quickly think, is this weight okay or not? So if you remember those ones, double, triple, quadruple, or you remember 1, 10, 2, 12, 3, 14, 4, 16, 5, 18, 6, 20, you can quickly know whether at least your baby is between the average or not. So remember, what is normal is between 80% of that average. Average is like the 100%. So if your baby is like 80% lower than what is the average, which is the 100%, is still fine. Or if your baby is a little bit above and it's still up to like 120% of the average, it's still fine. For example, let's say I said that a baby is to weigh 10 kilograms at 1 year. If the baby still weigh 8 kilograms, which is like 80% of 10 kilogram, that is still fine. He's still normal. Okay. So average baby should weigh 10 kilogram at 1 year, but a child who weighs 8 kilogram at 1 year is still normal. So the pediatrician is not going to panic about it, and we're not going to do anything about it because that weight is still within the normal spectrum, or what's called within the average that we expect. Or if your baby is weighing 12 kilograms at 1 year, which is like 120% of normal, that is still fine as well. It's still within the average. So the pediatrician, we are not going to panic, or we're not going to worry, because a lot of mothers worry, oh, Dr. Baby, you see my baby weighing 10 kilos at 1 year, my baby is weighing 9.5. Oh, should I be worried? No, I am not going to be worried. Just let the baby be. Even if your baby is weighing 8.5, I'm not going to worry. If your baby is weighing 8 kilos, I'm not going to worry. If your baby is weighing 11 kilos, I'm not going to worry. If your baby is weighing 12 kilos, I'm not going to worry. So I just want you to, that's why I stress the average, okay? There's no one figure that is a perfect figure, but we have that range of figures that are reassuring, that we're not worried about. Okay, so that's the thing. And the most important thing again is the progressive weight gain. So we don't want your baby to be static, and we don't want your baby to lose weight, because the baby who is static, who is not gaining, who is just on a what we call plateau, on a straight line, we worry about that. Or a baby who is losing weight, we worry about that. So those are the first two methods. So I've taught us two methods. Do it yourself method, DIY method of knowing whether your baby's weight is okay or not. But there are other ways. Okay, so most of you have your baby's immunization card. They have different names for it. Some people call it the baby card. Some people call it your immunization record. Some people call it your red book, green book, baby record. There's so many road to X charts. There are so many names for it. But basically, it's a book or a leaflet or a pamphlet. It can be colored green, blue, white, or red, doesn't matter. But the most important thing that is where they normally record information about your baby. I'm sure all of you know what I'm talking. At least the most important information, they always record your immunization there. So if you on that booklets or leaflets or whichever one you have, there's a place where there's a graph. If you remember your graph from your maths in elementary school or primary school, there's a graph there, and you will see these lines drawn there. So you see on the y-axis is I hope you all remember this. So the y-axis, that is why they taught us all this in school. On the y-axis, you see the weight of the baby rating or the height, depending on, there's a weight chart, there's a height chart, but today I'm talking about weight, so I'll restrict myself to weight because that's what mothers worry most about. People don't worry much about height, though that is also an important one, but we'll leave height today. Let's just talk about weight. So on the y or the vertical axis is the weight of the child, and on the lower part of the horizontal axis or the x-axis is the age of the baby, usually in months. So we have there are some that are written in months, and when the baby is bigger, we change it to years. So we see 1, 2, 3, we have some that are up to 20 years. We have some that are 0 to 5 years. We have the WHO charts. We have some countries have their own, like the UK have their own charts, the US have their own chart. But this also in Africa, we tend to use our World Health Organization weight charts. So you have it there. And so usually the nurses if you go to a very good hospital or a very good health center, anytime you go to the hospital, they weigh your baby. And when they weigh your baby, they actually plot a graph. So they trace from the weight, they trace from the age of the baby up to what the weight is on the vertical place, and they put a dot where the two of them meet together. Okay, so I don't know whether you've noticed that, whether your nurses do it or not. They should be doing it, and even the pediatricians will do plot the weight. So the idea is that when they plot your baby's weight, each time you go back again, the next time they plot it again, and they will join the line. So the idea is that we want to see that line going up. Okay, we want to see it going up. We don't want that line going straight, because if it goes straight, that means that your baby's weight is the same. And we don't want to see it coming down, because that means the weight is dropping. So it should be going up. All right. And usually that's what we call your baby's center. So usually there's another line that have been drawn there, either in black or green colors. And sometimes they can be up to 2 or 3 lines. So the lowest part of the line, if you have only one line, that means it's the average line, the 50th center line that is drawn. But if you have 3 lines, they will write there, this is for the maybe the 10 center line, the 50th center, or the 75 center, or the 95 center. So you have a line that is for the upper number, then you have the line that is the lower limits of normal. So we don't want your child to be outside those lines. We want your child to be between. If you have 3 or 4 lines, we want your child to be in between all the lines. We don't want the child to be either above the upper limit line, which is the 95th center, or 99th center in some places, but most of the time it's 95th center, or below the lowest line. Some line could be 50th center, some could be 10. We don't want the child falling below those lines. So if you are the type that have that card, and they are plotting your baby's weight and tracking it, as long as your baby is maintaining the same line and those lines are not outside the 2 extreme lines, I think I'm getting you so complicated now. That means the baby's weight is fine. So that's another way to know it. So if your child's weight is being measured each time you go to the clinic and they're plotting it and it's not falling outside the 50th center line or the upper line, which is the 90th center, the baby's weight is fine. If you have only one line, we want your baby's line to be very close to that one line, because that one line is the normal line of 50th center. So we want your baby's line to be close to that line. So as long as it's close to that line and it's always going up and not going straight or coming down, then that weight is fine. So that is ideal. And again, many people don't even know that they plot the line. So some of our doctors or nurses are too busy, they don't plot that line. They may write it down, but they don't plot it. Ideally, we should plot it, because just plotting it alone quickly tells us the weight is fine or the weight is not fine, or we should do something about it. But we're living in the day of IT. We're living in the day of technology. So there are a lot of apps nowadays. So all of us are using smartphones. So if you have a smartphone, if you can watch me on YouTube, you can watch me on your phone on Facebook, you have a smartphone. You have a phone that has internet. So that is a smartphone. So there are apps that you can download. So there are apps, and even for some of us pediatricians these days, we used to always do the lines plotting, but everybody is too busy now. So what we normally do is to just put the weights inside the app, and then we get your baby's center quickly. It's calculated for us. So you can download baby growth charts and you can use the app. So when you use that app, excuse me, when you put in your baby's weight, your date of birth of your baby, whether your baby is preterm or not, you have to make sure you put all those information correctly. Then you tell this is today's day, this is your baby's weight today. It will immediately give you back information, tell you your baby's weight is on 64 center. That one will tell you the center to the last, the very exact number. So if you tell your baby, as long as it's not below 5th center or it's not above 99 center, that is normal. Okay, so it will tell you, it's a range. It's between the 50th to the 75th center. It's between the 25th to the 50th center. Whatever, it will tell you all those information. As long as it's telling you those information, you don't have to worry. That means your baby's weight is fine. So I've taught you 4 methods today for you to know whether your baby's weight is fine or not. I've taught you like rules of the thumb kind of method, two of them. Number one, your baby should double at 6 months, should triple at 1 year, quadruple at 2 years. It's a rule of the thumb, very easy for many parents to remember. Or you can remember 1 year, 10 kilos, 2 years, 12 kilos, 3 years, 14 kilos, 4 years, 16 kilos, 5 years, 18 kilos, and 6 years, 20 kilos. You can remember that. Or you can just plot the weight on the chart. Even if you just look at the graph and you put it on the weight, if you draw from the horizontal line where your baby's age is, and you draw it up to meet that line, if it's only one line you have, the 58th line or the green line, or the only one line that you have, and you trace it to the vertical axis or the weight axis, then that will tell you what your baby's weight should be, and that will help you. Or if your nurses or doctors have plotted the weight for you and the line is going up nicely, and it is close to the normal 58 line, or even if you have 3 or 4 lines and it is not below or above any of the outermost lines, then you can rest assured that your baby's weight is fine, and the line is also going up and not flat or coming down. Then you can know it is fine. Or the number 4th method, which is the easiest of them all, is just download a baby growth chart app. There are lots of them. You just go to any of your app stores, either Google or iOS stores, and just look for baby growth charts or app. There are many of them, and most of them are free, so you can just download it and you can always check, and they will tell you your baby's weight is okay, 58 center, 75 center, as long as it's not below 52nd centile, we're fine. And as long as it's not above 99 centile, we're fine. So that's the way for you to track the weight of your baby. All right. So please, it's so important. Every opportunity you have to go to the hospital, it's an opportunity to check your baby's weight. Okay. Usually we have proper scales for measuring baby's weight. So for babies, usually we like to measure them naked. At most, let's just when wearing a very light nappy or diaper. So usually for babies that are small, they will actually bring them to lie down. Below 2 years or 1 year, when they cannot yet stand, we actually put them on a scale like a bowl, so they can lie down the bowl or they can sit in the bowl, and all their body is in that bowl, and then we measure it. And also for babies that are big enough to stand from 1 year, 2 years, we make them to stand on the scale, and those scales have to be properly calibrated. So I don't know if you have your bathroom scales at home. Some of those scales are not up calibrated, and some of them are not correct, but they can still give you an idea. But usually we like to use the scales in the hospitals that are properly calibrated, so that they don't give us errors. And it's always good to use the same scales over and over again, because there's also some scale errors. So for those of you that go to hospital A, and the way your baby today is 5 kilos, then you go to hospital B and they will say it's 4 kilos, then you go to hospital C and they will say it's 6 kilos. It's always confusion, because most times those are scale error. But if it's the same scale, then we know that, okay, the error will be consistent, so we'll not have to worry about that. So it's better you use the same hospital, the same health center, or the same facility, and let them check your baby's weight every time. And I know some of you in Nigeria, you have told me that sometimes you go to the hospital, some of our health centers, they are so busy, and they will say we don't weigh baby every time. No, it is actually wrong. You need to let them know that they need to weigh your baby. Yes, and you can tell them to tell your the commissioner for health or whoever is in charge that why is my baby not being weighed every time? Whatever needs to be done, whatever should be done. Baby needs to be weighed every visit to the hospital. Is the least we can do for our children, to monitor the weights. When we're talking about child support strategies, one of the child support strategies is growth monitoring. And that's exactly what I'm talking about today. We need to monitor the growth of our babies. We need to be sure that their weights are fine, because those are the ways by which you know a child is healthy. The child is gaining weight, well, 50% of that child's problem are gone, honestly. So because a child with good weight we have good immune system, they're able to fight infections and all that. So we really, really need to make sure that we weigh our babies and we monitor the weight. And usually we monitor their weight until they're about 5 years at least. And then when they go to school, the school will be doing the monitoring. And they don't need to monitor them every month when they go to school. So usually from between 0 to 1 year, we want to monitor them every month. And then from 2 to 5 years, we don't have to do it every month. We can do it maybe every opportunity, or at least half every 6 months or so. Or by the time they're about in school, once a year should be fine, unless they're also in the hospital for other reasons, and we can always check. But we need to monitor the weight of our children, and if we notice that there's any problem with the weight, we need to do something about it. So again, when do we now worry? A lot of you worry the pediatrician a lot, and I think almost all the time, again, my baby's weight is so and so. Is it okay? Is it normal? Now, I've told you how to know what is normal or not, so you don't have to disturb the pediatrician. You can work out whether it's normal by yourself or not. So what do you now do if you've done it by yourself and you think there's something wrong? Again, using each of those methods, have told us that they like using all those rules of the thumb is just an average. As long as the baby's weight is not completely off the normal spectrum, we're not going to worry. So 80% of the average is fine, and 120% is the upper limit of normal. Or if you are using the centile charts or putting it in an app, anything less than 5th centile or anything above 99 centile is off. So a lot of people think we only worry about when the weight is small. We actually worry when the weight is too much as well. Yeah, I know many people think pediatricians are worried about. Many people think malnutrition means the baby's weight is too small for their age or they are losing weight. We actually worry a lot as well about when the baby's weight is too much for their age, or they are obese, or they are overweight. It's also as equally malnutrition as much as when the weight is lower. So it is not only when the weight is small, when the weight is too much. So because a lot of mothers, we love our babies to be very plumpy. I can't count how many times mothers always ask me, oh, my baby is not chubby. My baby, yeah, that's the word. My baby is not chubby. I actually wrote an article on help feed my baby is not chubby, and I was trying to address this issue. And I always like to let mothers know that pediatricians are not worried about your baby being chubby. Oh yes, we are not worried about it. We don't want your baby to be chubby. We want your baby to have a normal weight, healthy weight. Because some of the babies you people think are chubby and fat, they are actually overweight and they are obese, and we worry more about those babies as well. So we are not, so a lot of people want babies to be very big and chubby, and this is why some of you don't want to do exclusive breastfeeding, because exclusive breastfeeding doesn't make a baby chubby, it makes them have good weight. And some people, formula, they just have so much weight, and you're already setting them up and programming them for diabetes mellitus in future, because they are prone to going to have insulin resistance. So we don't want babies to be chubby. We want them to have normal weights. So a lot of parents will say, my baby is not chubby. What is the weight? Then they tell us the weight. So the weight is normal for the age. Okay, I'm not worried about it. Just let the baby be. Okay. All right. So we're not worried about, we don't want chubby. We want healthy weight for age. That is what we want. Now, so what do we do? So if your baby's weight is less than 80% of the average figure that we've talked about today, that is underweight. Okay, that baby is underweight. Anything between 60 to 80% is underweight. Okay, and anything less than 60% is severe. Okay, that's not just underweight. That child is severely malnourished, and we call it marasmus. All right, really, if the baby is just, weight is so small, baby will be so thin and tiny, you can see all the bones, and the weight is less than 60% of age, but they are not having what we call swelling of their hands and feet. So we call that marasmus, and that is severe malnutrition, or you can call it wasting. I don't want to use medical jargon, but those are the ways, but it's still malnutrition. So if your baby's weight is less than 80% of the average or normal, or the 50% percentile, we worry about that. So we usually worry once they are underweight, because we don't want them to go to the severe malnutrition side. Because once your baby is going to the severe malnutrition side, we are admitting your baby, we are keeping the baby, we are doing nutritional rehabilitation. Okay, so we don't want to get to that. So we start working hard once they start getting to underweight. Okay, and the same thing when babies are overweight. Okay, most times we worry. There are medical conditions that could maybe be overweight. So people think, oh, yeah, we're all chubby in my family. No, sometimes there's a medical issue. There are syndromes. There are health issues that could make baby to be too big. I think somebody was asking me yesterday about a 1-year-old child who is weighing 15 kilos. And I told that baby is overweight because a 1-year-old child should weigh 10 kilos. If your 1-year-old child is weighing 15 kilos, that is 5 kilos extra we are worried about. Is there something wrong? Is there something going on? So that is when you need to see the pediatrician, because we need to know what to do. All right. So, but a lot of people worry more about the wasting and all that. And then we talk about height as well when we talk about malnutrition, but height when babies are short and they're wasted, it also has implication. But I don't want to divert into height today because it is easier for parents to know more about weight than to talk about height. So if your baby is underweight, you need to see a doctor or you need to see your health professional. Sometimes just seeing our health professional, like our nurses, our dietitians, they can fix it. Because most of the time, underweight is due to food, okay? That is the number one reason why babies are underweight. If you are not doing exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, or most babies do well in the first 6 months when they do exclusive breastfeeding, but once they start complementary feeding, okay, that's where the problems start, because the mom wants to give only pap or no other food and all that, and then they stop breastfeeding, then baby start going into trouble. So then baby starts to lose weight. And so that was, so my baby was very chubby initially, but now that I've started complementary, the baby is not doing well. I'm not going to go into all those details because we've done a lot of programs on complementary feeding, infant nutrition, infant feeding. I think you should just go and watch those videos. But what I'm just going to say is that food is not the only reason why babies could be underweight. Okay, food is not the only one. Okay, so if you are sure you are giving your baby good food, you're breastfeeding well, you did exclusive breastfeeding, or you're doing proper complementary feeding, you are still breastfeeding, your child is eating well, and yet this child is not gaining weight or the child is underweight, then you need to see us. You need to see your doctor, you need to see your pediatrician, because there are health issues that could make a child to be underweight. So we need to investigate those health issues, there are many of them. All right. So don't just assume it's because the child is not eating or the food is not showing. A lot of people assume it's worm. And okay, so we live in a country, in Nigeria, for example, that is endemic, worm infested. So the WHO recommend that those of us who live in places in Africa or places where there's a lot of worm infestation, we should deworm our children regularly. So we deworm them from the age of 1 year. So we give them, there are a lot of worm expellers there in the pharmacy. You can buy them. You don't need a prescription for them. And we deworm them every 6 months. So you can always do that. There's nothing wrong. If you think your baby is not gaining weight and you think it's warm, just deworm. You can do that on your own. So if you deworm the child, you're giving the child good food, the child does not look as if the child is ill or anything, but the child is not gaining weight and is underweight or severely malnourished, then you have to come to us. And we have to say, sometimes some babies are malnourished, but they will not, their weight will still be within 80%. They actually have swelling. So they have what we call the kwashiorkor. Their tummy is swollen, their hands are swollen. I'm sure most of us have seen those pictures before. So that's another form of malnutrition. And if you see that, that's a very ill child. That child has to see a pediatrician. So the essence of checking the weight is for us to know when we need to see our doctors. So if it is normal, no need to worry. Just keep feeding them well. Good, proper nutrition, including fruits and vegetables, will be fine. And but if the weight is lower than normal and you're feeding the child well and you're deworming, you've done all those things, at least you know how to do, please see the doctor, see the pediatrician, so that we can do other tests, and we can do it on time. Sometimes some illness, like children can have tuberculosis and they'll be losing weight. That's the only sign we're going to see. The child may not be coughing. They will not cough out blood. Children don't cough out blood. Most times they don't cough. But the only way we know that that child is I remember one child I saw on ETP, and then that picture, I really thank God that mom posted that picture. And we're seeing a Nigerian child in Nigeria, where there was no war, looking like one of the children in those war-torn countries. This child was 1 kilo and was weighing 4.2 kilograms. I will never forget that story as long as I live. And we answered the question, but I need to reach out to this mom. So I reached out, and lots of ATP members also supported her. We got a hold of the mom, like, this, you need to come in, you need to come to the hospital. And we were able to I was in Lutz then, and we were able to get the child admitted. Some people, some of our members donated money so that we can pay for the cost of admission and treatment. And we started investigating the child, and lo and behold, this child has tuberculosis, and that's why the child is not gaining weight. Mom is I've been giving food. She has listened to everything ATP has said. She's been given everything. She's following everything, but the child is not gaining weight. The child was so wasted, malnourished. So immediately we confirmed the diagnosis, and we started tuberculosis medication. I also posted the picture of that child again when the child came to see me for follow-up. That child, within 3 months, the child was weighing 8 kilograms. I always love to look at that picture because it's one of the reasons why I always remember why I have to be on ATP and why I do what I do. That child's transformation was so dramatic. This child was a child of 4 kilos that could not sit up, was just lying down. The child was 1 year. And within 2-3 months of us knowing that this is what is wrong, starting a child on medication for tuberculosis, this child was weighing 8.2, sitting up in my clinic room. I mean, it was like a miracle. So that is why I'm telling you, like, it's not just only about food. There are other things. So that is why you need to come and see the pediatrician. If your baby is also overweight, don't give junk food, all these juices, everything. We need to get rid of them. Let's give healthy fruits as our snacks. Let's give them all these juices, beverages, cocoa beverages, sugary beverages. We should just stop them. Let's give healthy food. We've talked about that before. Please listen to that broadcast again. And yeah, your baby is too big. Sometimes there may be a what we call endocrinological disorders. So you really need to bring the child, and we may need to so some children have some syndromes, and these syndromes have other problems like that can affect the hearts of the child or some other internal organs, things that we cannot see. So you really need to bring the child to us. Then we can do an evaluation, and then we can address it. So I think for those of you who are just joining, and for those of you who have been listening, thank you so much for listening. Today we've talked about what is the ideal weight of our baby, and I've talked to us what is the normal weight at birth, how they gain weight, and how we can monitor the weight of our children, and when to come see the pediatricians, whether the weight is too low or is too high. Anything less than 80, anything above 120% of the average expected weight for age, please see your doctors or your health professionals, because there are other things beyond food that can affect the weight of our children. And when our children have good weight, they are able to fight infections, they're able to fight diseases, or malnutrition, whether low one on the weight or overweight, they are the underlying cause of the 50% of deaths of children below the age of 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. So weight monitoring, growth monitoring is an essential child survival strategy. And that is why it's so important for us to monitor and to seek help immediately our children weights are faltering. All right, thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any question, feel free. If you're listening on Fresh Wave Radio, you can send it through the Fresh Wave Radio WhatsApp number, and in subsequent episode, there are times that we just take question and answers, and we will answer them. Or you can as well just head straight to Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, and you can post your questions there. You can actually post your question on our website as well. If you read through a topic, you can put it as a comment, and we will try and answer them on time. So thank you so much for listening today. And if you want to support Ask the Pediatricians outreaches, feel free to reach out to us. Please share our videos, try to invite your friends, join our Facebook group, support us in any way you can, and we will continue to work to make sure that no child die from preventable causes of death in Africa and in the world globally. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and I will see you again next week, same time, same station, or same platform, where I'll be discussing again with you another interesting topic about the health of our children. If you have any particular topic that you would like me to address, please feel free to send me a message on askthepediatricians@gmail.com, askthepediatricians@gmail.com, or send us a WhatsApp message on our WhatsApp number that is showing on your screen. Thank you so much for watching, and it is bye from me, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.
Listen to Thursday by 10 a.m. for insightful discussion on popular child health topics such as dangerous child health practices, immunization, infant feeding, developmental milestones, and so much more. You also get to ask questions on these topics and listen to answers to real-life child health issues by a pediatrician. Ask the Pediatricians Foundation is devoted to health education and information of parents and caregivers of children in the community to support you in raising healthy children. Don't miss Ask the Pediatricians